Alright, Charlie, let's take a look at your project here. I went through and fixed your points. You had duplicate points on there in two different sizes, so I just isolated those points and erased them and redrew them. So when I did my points, draw, locate points, I made sure that I did erase duplicates, and some of them you had by layer and some of them you didn't. So I did layer by description and I took out the prefix. So now we just have a bunch of layers that were created with the description of the point. So that's all I did to clean those up, and I drew all those. So now if we take a look at our layers, we'll see that we have a bunch of different layers with this descriptions as the layer name. So now we can isolate all those layers by the description. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the project. So first thing I want to do is kind of declutter this. These point attributes are too big and it makes it difficult to read them, so I'm going to resize those. So I'm going to zoom out here so I can select everything. I'm going to go to points. I'm going to go to resize point attributes. I'm going to scale, which is already selected, so I'm just going to hit enter. The scale multiplier, I'm going to scale them down quite a bit, so I'm going to go a quarter of their current size of 0.25, and I'm going to scale both. Both is already selected, so I'm just going to hit enter. And I can select the points from the screen or by group or by point number. Screen is already selected, so I could do screen and then just type all and hit enter, and it's selected 486 entities, and I'll just hit enter one more time because we don't want to select anything else. And now we have some point attributes that we can read. They're not overlapping each other. You might have to zoom in a little closer to see them, but at least you can see them. So let's talk a little bit about the different line types. Really, there's three different line types. Just a plain old line. A line is what you've been drawing, which just goes from a point node to a point node. So it's just one little segment, and it can have elevation difference on each end. You have those set at 0. I can tell by hovering over that little square box at the node and then looking down here at the bottom. It tells me the coordinates and the elevation. So that one you have at 0, and this one is at 0 also. So that line was drawn at 0 elevation. The next type is a 2D polyline, which is basically a group of line segments connected together at the same elevation. So a 2D polyline is just that. It's at one elevation, and it's either going to be at the elevation that you specify here, 0, or set by the first point. If you have this box checked, it's going to, whatever the first point you pick elevation is, that's going to be the elevation of the line. And those line segments will all be connected together in one group, like this house. And if we look at those, we see those are all at 0 also. A 3D polyline is basically the same as a 2D polyline, but each node on that line can have a different elevation. I think we have one here. This top of wall, and we see that one is at 790.90, and this one is at 790.89, and so on and so forth. 790.25. So that's the differences. When we're doing a topo project, we want our break lines to be 3D polylines because we want it to use the elevations at each one of those nodes in our 10. If it's a 2D polyline and we put it into our 10, it's going to use the elevation at each one of those nodes, and if you draw it and it selects that elevation of that first point, say it's at 700, then it's going to use 700 at each one of those nodes in our 10. And so we don't want to do that. We want to make sure all our lines that are in the surface model are 3D polylines and at the grade elevation. We want to make sure all of our points are at grade. We don't want any top of fire hydrants or shots on the face of the house or roof line or anything like that, or trees that were maybe shot up off of the ground, or fence, top of fence post or something like that. We want to make sure everything is on grade. So the house is connected pretty well, and it can be a 2D or 3D. It doesn't really matter. We have it at 0, and we'll set it to ignore 0 elevation in our surface model. So that's good. And we have the line around the house as a polyline, which we want. If we just had it as a line segment, we wouldn't be able to select it for an inclusion or exclusion area, and we want to be able to do that. So let's clean this drawing up a little bit further and get rid of things that we don't really want to see. So I'm going to go to View, Isolate Layers, and I'm going to get rid of your deed boundary stuff. Let's just go to Freeze Layer by Pick. Let's select entities to be frozen. And then go back to View and Restore Layers. We could also get rid of those points if we wanted to. If we wanted to take the time to do that for all of those. But they're all, since they're all on a different description, and it looks like you have a just different description for most of them, they're all going to have to pick every single one of them. So that cleans up most of that and gets us out of having those points around our project area here. Another thing I'll mention here is I noticed that you have like the fence and the fence line type, and that's fine. If you did this as a 2D polyline, you could p-edit and do the line type throughout that line segment. Right now the line type is being drawn based on each segment's length rather than the length of the line as a whole. If you do it as a polyline and then give it the line type and do a p-edit like this one, we can do a line type mode, and we can turn line type continuous along polyline on, and that will do the line type based on the entire length of the polyline rather than each individual segment. So if I had this as set as a fence, this segment might not get a fence symbol because it's too short, but if I do it as and turn this on as a polyline, it would add that segment. And this only works on 2D polylines. On 3D polylines we can't put line types on it because it's on a slope. So That's another reason to use 3D versus 2D polylines. If you have a 3D, you're not going to be able to put a line type on it. 3D is pretty much just for surface modeling. Connecting your lines for the plat to do line types and that type of thing, you want to use either just line segments or a 2D polyline. So let's just freeze off the house. It looks like it's connected up pretty well. So I'll just do view and freeze by pick and freeze the house. And let's freeze the house point. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I freeze the description layer. Description, we don't want to freeze description, we want to freeze the point. So view, freeze by layer pick, and pick the point symbols itself there. So now we've gotten rid of the house stuff. Let's pick and turn off the fence. It looks like you got that connected. We've got our grade shots. Let's just turn those off. Let's turn our trees off and our traverse points. Okay, we've got a shed over here. Oh, there's another tree. So we've got a shed over here that we need to connect up. So let's set layer to shed, and then I'll just do a 2D polyline. We'll just leave it at elevation at 0. Turn our entity snaps on. And turn node on. So from the node there to the node there to the node there. There's actually a command to close that out called four-sided building here under the survey menu, four-sided building, and then we just pick the polyline and it'll close it out for us. It looks like you shot 3 sides and didn't shoot that other. So now we have our shed connected up. So I'm going to do the view again, and I'm going to freeze layer by pick, and let's just pick that. Stone shots, I'm not sure if those need to be connected, so I'd have to have a little more information on that, so I'm going to freeze that one off. Looks like you have brick. There's a concrete shot. So really, the only things we have that are questionable right now are the tennis court and the wall over here. So I'm going to do a view isolate layer here, and I'm going to isolate the tennis court. And it looks like right now the tennis court is just in single line segments, and I don't want that. We want it to be a 3D polyline because we want that to be used in our surface model, and these are all set to 0 elevation. So I'm just going to erase all your line segments here. Erase that one. Looks like it was in there twice. Okay. Now let's just connect up all of our tennis courts with a 3D polylines rather than a 2D polyline. And T-quarters our current layer, that's good. So we'll draw a 3D polyline. Prompt for elevation or slope. We don't really want that. We'll turn that off. I had that on when we were working on it before and didn't have an elevation. Use current drawing properties for the layer, so we don't have to type in a layer, and then just click OK. And I can just go around, connect all these. And we'll just hit C for close and close it back to the beginning. So now we have our tennis court with a 3D polyline. So I'm going to do View, Restore Layers, and then that'll get me back to there. And then I'm going to do a View, Isolate, or Freeze Layer by Pick, and turn the tennis court off. Right now we have this brick, and you have it again with individual line segments. So we really need to, if we want to consider that a break line, we need to get that into a 3D polyline with elevations. Because right now your line segment has 0 for the elevation, so it's not going to be used at all. So what I want to do next is turn all of your just plain old line segments into a 2D polyline, and then we'll turn it off. You really do probably want the 2D polyline for your brick. Maybe you want to give that a line type, I don't know, but we'll leave that as a 2D polyline, and I'll go ahead and show you how to join those up. The best way, easiest way is to use the edit join nearest command. And we can set our max separations really low. Here it doesn't really matter, and we can pick that. I'm just going to leave it at 1 because we're going to have this join identical layers only checked, so that it will only connect line segments that are on the same layer. Average endpoints together. We can do directly connect endpoints. We shouldn't have to average or anything. Join across the intersection, convert lines and arcs to polylines, and that'll get us our line into a 2D polyline. This is very quick, so it wants us to select lines, arcs, and unclosed polylines to join. So we just want to connect all of these brick lines. So I'll just go through here and select all these, and I'll just right click, and the 46 entities were joined, and we'll click on it and we can see now that it connected everything except for this last one right here. Something was wrong with it, so we'll have to take a look and see what's going on there and why. Well, I guess it did join it, it just wasn't highlighting it for some reason. Actually, it looks like we have 2 different line types here. Maybe this one was already the 3D that we'd drawn before. Nope, it's a 2D line. Let's erase this and see if we have, yes, we have 2 different lines here. So I'm going to undo that. Let's erase this one that we just created. Okay, there's our line. I guess we already had one under there. Maybe I'd done this before, I don't remember. But so now we have our polyline connected up for our brick. This one is going to the wrong point. It needs to be there. It looks like we have brick going back here and concrete. So we got a brick there and a concrete, two concrete shots there and there. I guess this is a separate brick patio here. I'm going to go ahead and join them up also. So edit, join nearest. Okay, let's connect this, this, and this one. And let's go ahead and connect these concrete. So I'll just go back into the command again. So right click on the mouse. We'll just do this concrete here. Yeah, something funky going on there with how that's connected, but we'll take a look at that. I'm not sure what's going on there, but get that itty bitty line segment there. And concrete. Yep, concrete, concrete, concrete. Okay, it looks like it just keeps going here. Okay. Let's click on that and see. Okay, it looks like everything's connected up to there. This is on layer step. That's why it did not connect, because it was not on the same layer. And that's on brick. And we got our wall, so I'm going to isolate this brick layer here so that we can just work with our brick here. Isolate layers. I'll isolate the brick here. So now we see all our brick shots. Now, if I had Carlson Civil, I could just go in here and go to our 3D data and make a copy of that 2D polyline and do 2D to 3D by points and elevate one of them and create our 3D polyline that way. But I don't think you have the civil module, so the only way to do it in the survey module is basically to draw that line again. So I'm going to set my layer. Oh, it's already set to brick. So I'm going to draw 3D polyline. And let's make sure we have everything set here. Looks good. This time I'm just going to use the numbers because you shot them pretty much in order. So I'm going to do 214, comma 132 through. So you shot 132 through 155 and hit enter. And then I'm just going to enter to exit out of that command. So now we should also have a 3D polyline here, which we can see 784.41, 784.18. So that one's elevated. Let's do the same thing over here for this brick. We'll draw a 3D polyline. Okay. I will start at 128 through 131, comma 128. That should close it out. And then hit enter, and I should be able to pick on that and see our 3D closed polyline here. Looks good. So now I'm going to restore layers, view, restore layers. That'll get my brick back. or my concrete and everything else, and then I'm going to do a view, freeze layer by pick, and let's get rid of what we've already done here. And that's looks like your older single entity lines. Step, step, and step, and probably step. No, that's concrete. I'm just gonna turn your step off. We connected those up. I see that it went on through. Let's undo that, because that line went. Is this a step also? Yeah, something. I don't understand what's going on there, but you'll have to straighten that out. I don't think. Maybe, I guess that's a set of steps going down through there. Step, step, step down through. Concrete, concrete, concrete. That's a little confusing, but not sure how to connect that for you. Let's just work on our concrete right now. So I'm going to do a view, isolate layers. I'll come back to that. Let's isolate the concrete. Oops, I missed the view, restore, view, isolate layers. I missed picking the point. Okay, now we have just a regular 2D polyline there at 0. This one's not connected for some reason, and it doesn't look like it has any points. It's on layer concrete. Okay, there's a little jog right there, but there doesn't seem to be any points for that. I'm just going to do a edit, join nearest. Okay, and join these. Now it should be. I'm not sure what you've got connected there, but let's do our 3D polyline also. Looks like you started over here around 106 and went all the way to 127. And so let's just do a draw 3D polyline. I can't pick that other line segment, those other two little line segments, because I don't have the points there. So we'll just go ahead and do this portion of it from 106 on. So 106 through 127. Something came out a little bit different there. Is this our 3D or our 2D? That's our 2D. And 2D skipped this one point, and the 3D incorporated it. Now something funky going on there. Okay, that has elevation. That has elevation. That has elevation. And that does not, so that's the 2D. It's a little bit different. So we have our 3D there for that. Something different here. I'm going to have to add this other concrete shot here. So let's just go to Edit, 3D Polyline Utilities. Add points at, let's add Edit Polyline, add Polyline Vertex, and we need to pick or enter point to add. We want to add one right there. Elevation 798.71, correct. So we've got our point that was out of order there added in. Okay, so that looks good. We could do the same thing over here to our 2D if we want to. Just add one right there, and that'll fix that 2D polyline. Now the 3D is going to end over here because I don't have the points and elevations right there. Looks like we have another set of concrete over here. That are not connected up. Looks like we have 72, 73, 74, 75, and then back, possibly back to the beginning. I'm not sure. I'm just going to draw a 3D polyline. Okay, let's go from 72 through 75. And when we turn everything else back on, we'll kind of see what that looks like. So view, restore layers. Okay, we got steps that ties into that concrete, and it looks like we have 2 step shots, and more than likely this one was a concrete shot. And concrete probably just tied into the steps here. And this one is probably just a duplicate shot in a different spot. Let's see our elevation difference. We got 790 26 versus 789 93. So almost 40 hundredths difference there, almost half a foot. Not sure what happened there, but looks like he got a couple extra shots there in the same spot. As far as our surface goes, it's really not going to make that much difference. I can go ahead and draw a 3D polyline from here to here, and do another one from here to here to here. And I should close that all up, and I can join those up. Join 3D polyline. Let's join this one and this one, and then do it again and join this one and this one. So now we have concrete going around like that. Okay, it looks like it connected the concrete to steps down through here, and that's why we don't have it. It's not quite right, but let's isolate our steps and draw those up. Let's just isolate our step layer. So we've got these in just single line segments again. Looks like we've got a top of step, bottom of step, because we've got about 6 inches of difference between those two shots. And the same thing going on here, 88 versus 40. So we want to connect up our steps correctly. So I'm going to assume that he shot these in order. This is a little bit more complicated, but we'll draw some line segments for front and back a step also. You just drew one, but for 3D purposes for our surface, we probably should have two if we want the steps to come out correctly. And we probably should make one of them make each step a hard break line. Well, let's draw our 3D polylines first. So I'm just going to do, we're in step, so draw 3D polyline. Okay, I'm going to start here with 86, and it looks like they were shot in order, so I'm just going to do 86 through 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, and 105, and then connect back to 86. So 86 through 105, comma, 86. So now we have a 3D polyline through all those steps. I'm just going to look at that in 3D really quick just to see what it looks like. So let's go to View, 3D Viewer Window. Let's select all these step entities. It should ignore your the two or the single line entities that you had. Let's turn it. Okay. So we can see that the steps are stepping. It looks correct. They were shot in the right order, I think. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And we'll connect the front and back, or top and bottom of each step. So I'll exit out of the viewer. And in this case, I'm just going to do each one individually. So let's draw 3D polyline from here to here. Enter, enter. Just go back into the command. Okay. From here to here. Enter, enter. Go back into the command. Here to here. Enter, enter. I want them to be individual 3D polyline segments. I don't want to go top to bottom. That's why I'm doing each one individually, so that I can mark them as hard break lines. And just right click on the mouse to go back into the command. And I probably am messing these up because I'm probably selecting 0 because I'm doing endpoint here instead of, we'll see here in a minute. I don't know if I'm getting endpoint of the 3D polyline or if I'm getting endpoints of the line segments. So those may be coming out wrong. We'll just have to look at it in 3D and see what happened. That's it. I don't need to connect that last one. Let's just exit out of that. Alright, now let's view it in 3D one more time. View 3D viewer window, select these entities. Yeah, I messed one of them up. Two of them. I was afraid of that. So this is a good reason to look at 3D viewer window. Shoot. Come on. No. There we go. It looks like the second step or third step down in the very end, if I'm looking at that correct. I need to turn some things off here. Okay, we'll just look at that. Okay, that one's 0 and that one's 0. I'm going to erase it. Okay, here's our outer 3D. That one's good. 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 And this is one of your lines. I'm just going to erase. And another one of your line segments. Erase that. And good. Good. That should be your line segment. I want to erase that. Okay, this one is bad. It's at 0. So let's move it up. It's still at 0. That one's at 0 also. And that one's at 0. I'm just going to erase these two and draw them again. So draw 3D polyline from the easiest way to do it would be to change the settings and turn endpoint off here. So we make sure we're only grabbing nodes. Go back into the command and draw this one. Okay. Take a look at this one down here. Another one of your line entities. We'll erase that. This one is good and good. This one is not good and good on that end. So I'm just going to, I should just be able to pick that grip and then move it to the node, and now it's fixed. And that's another. Connect. Check this one. Well, that one's bad. Or it's the. I'll delete that. That's the line segment, we can tell because it adds the arrows to the end of it. That one's good. I'll erase this line segment. Erase this line segment. Erase this line segment. That one's good. That one's bad. We'll move it to the node. View 3D viewer window. take a look at it now. Okay, now it looks good now. This 3D viewer window, if you notice I clicked on this switch to rotation mode, and that allows me to have, if I see this XY icon here for my mouse cursor, if I hold down on my left mouse button, I can pull the object up and down, or if I slide it left and right, or right and left, I just did that backwards, I can rotate it this way. If I go out until I see the Z, then I can rotate it around the Z axis, and if I hold down on my mouse wheel, I can pan it. So that takes care of the stairs, or the steps. I'm going to view, restore layers. I'm going to do view, thaw all, on all. And now let's take a look at this in 3D and see if we've got anything else that we missed. I guess we didn't do that wall for the tennis courts. We'll have to come back and do that. Yeah, looks like we've got a bad line. Yeah, there's a bad line right. That concrete, probably where I connected that up. So we got a bad line in here somewhere. See, that's 0 right there. It is. View 3D viewer window. Okay, I don't see any lines going crazy. There's that wall. That doesn't look, I'm not sure, it doesn't look connected right to me. I'm not sure what, I haven't seen the site, so I don't know for sure what's going on. Something's going on right there. I see what looks like a bad elevation shot right there. And that's on one of the concretes or something there. Looks like two shots that are like way up in the air. Okay. Bad rod height or something probably. That is right here. So this point 789.65. Where was that? It had a line connected to it. I swore it was that one. 784, that's 5 feet different, but it doesn't have any lines connected to it. Let's just do view, 3D viewer window. We'll just window this little area right here. It's coming out over. Okay, it's those where it connects up. So it is this one. $12.13 and $12.14 and $7.89, $7.89, and yeah, everything else around it $7.84. So that's probably a bad rod height right there. At the traverse point. If you were sitting here and tried to shoot those, maybe you had a peanut or had it sitting on the ground, or I don't know. Those look like bad rod heights to me. I'm going to leave them, and that's something that you can fix on your own. Let's do a view, freeze by pick. I'm going to freeze this. Freeze this here. Get rid of the deed stuff again. Okay, this wall I think is the last thing that we needed to do. We did the tennis court. This wall got line segments again, and this one is a 3D polyline, so it is correct. Now let's do a view. Isolate layers, and we'll pick these right here to get our walls. Okay, we've got top of wall and then just plain old wall. So I guess these wall shots are the ones you went back and got, and and 55. I thought you were going to go back and get the toe wall shots so we could fix that. I guess we did that with the tennis court. So that's a line segment. We don't want these to be line segments. I'm just going to erase those again. I want these to be 3D polylines. If you need a 2D polyline, you can create your own 2D. You can copy the 3D and do 3D to 2D polyline to get yourself the 3D if you need that, or the 2D, I mean. So let's draw a 3D polyline from here to here, 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 there, 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 and there. This line's kind of going out there by itself as the top of a different wall. Let's turn everything on. View, Restore layers. Okay. I got a wall shot here that's not connected to anything. Grade. I guess it probably went wall, wall, wall. And that was just a grade. Because if we looked at it in 3D, it was kind of messed up with the wall out here. So I'm gonna that's how you had me connected. I'm not sure. There seems to be something going on wrong there. But anyway, I think we have everything that we need connected up for our 3D polylines. And now I'm going to do a shrink wrap entities to encapsulate our to give us an inclusion boundary line around our site. So I will just go to draw shrink wrap entities and cross gaps, 2D polyline. Let's just go ahead and do a 3D, and I'll put it on layer. I'll just call it topo boundary. And select the entities. So I'm going to select everything here. I don't want that point out there. And that gives us a line around the outside perimeter of our survey. To use as our inclusion-exclusion boundary line. Okay, so now we're ready to create our surface. We probably want to tag a couple of or a few hard break lines. So we'll go to surface, triangulation, setup utilities, hard break lines, tag hard break line polylines. This one's a hard break line, this one's a hard break line. All our stairs are going to be hard break line that we created. These two, these two, these two, and this one. We don't want the outer one. And that should give us all of our hard break lines. So let's go ahead and create our surface. So we'll go surface, triangulate and contour. I will go ahead and draw contours. I will do the index contours. We'll do them 1 and 5 feet. Reduce vertices. Like I say, I usually leave the smoothing factor in the middle there at 5. Triangulation, I usually write a triangulation file, and we'll give it to the same name as the project, JJR. I do want to use an inclusion-exclusion area, and that will give me the ability to leave the tin and stuff out of the house in the shed. Ignore zero elevation, so anything that's on 0 we will not use. that's pretty much it. That's usually all I have on. I don't, like I said, I don't do the labels here. I prefer doing them individually. And your selection set is, you can specify options, but I leave it to selecting everything, 2D, 3D, faces, inserts, elevation, text, all of it. So if you have something you don't want selected, you could do specify select options and only select those certain things. Well, let's go ahead and go OK. It's wanting me to select the inclusion perimeter polylines or enter for none. We do have an inclusion, and that's the boundary that we just created. So I'll right click to select enter. Select the exclusion perimeter polylines or enter for none. We want to exclude the house and we want to exclude the shed, and that's pretty much it for now. And select the points and break lines to triangulate. I'll just select everything here. Doesn't matter if we select anything outside of our inclusion exclusion, it's going to ignore it because it's outside of that. So 755 entities selected. I'll just right click, and now we have our surface here drawn on the screen. It's also given us a little kind of an error dialog box telling us that we have crossing break lines, and we have a crossing break line that has 66/100ths a difference between the two. So we can take a look at that. It's going to point us to it and zoom in. So when we see that we have crossing break lines right here, our concrete and our steps are crossing. So basically it's telling us that there's an elevation difference of 66/100ths right here. So I'm just going to exit and ignore that. It doesn't really matter. We see our busted elevations here, so you'll need to fix that. Look at your rod height. This traverse point is throwing a huge kink into our surface here for our tennis court. It looks like that there are several points there, and something looks funky there. It's not matching up with the tennis court. We've got 789.24 there, 789.24, and 784, so that's about that same 5-foot difference. So something funky going on there, and I don't think you had this steep of a grade before when we did it, so it looks like same thing going on here, 789 versus 784, so it looks like maybe you have some busted rod heights out there. And this over here looks pretty good. The stairs looks good. We got the hard break lines. See the line going across here, and it's not smoothing it. So the stairs looks good. And I think everything else would look good too if we fix the busted elevations here. It looks like when you went back and set up again and took some additional shots, they were messed up. So that's really all there is to it. If you can go into the coordinate file and correct these points that seem to have the incorrect elevations on them, and redo the surface, just triangulate and contour again. So you would just go to surface, triangulate and contour, and you write the same file out again. We want to make sure that we erase previous contour entities for all contour entities, and that way when you do it again you're not going to have duplicate contours, so make sure that you turn that on. Okay, and then you'll just process it again, and that should give you your final product. I don't see, if you have any questions or you see anything that I missed here, just let me know and I will create another video to explain how to take care of that.